So as you can see, this Land Rover is about to go through.
That's probably one of the worst hail damaged cars I've ever seen in my whole life.
So today we have something pretty cool in store because we're going to the auction. This is where actually dealers will get the cars and they purchase it well below market value. And so this guy, Brendan, who we're meeting up with, is actually an expert when it comes to auction. And so he's gonna show us how auctions work, and hopefully I'll be able to use him to get cars as cheap as possible here in the future. So we're actually pulling up to the auction now, and I'm excited to meet up with Brendan and have him show us the ropes. Just pulled up at the auction site, and here is the expert himself, Brendan.
How's it going, guys?
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Aaron.
Yeah, appreciate you having me out, and excited to see kind of everything that you can show me about the auction. I know nothing about auctions, so this will be great.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's going to be close to 1,000 cars here for us to pick through, so pretty big selection of vehicles, so pretty much anything we can imagine will be here.
All right, and Brendan, I actually drove over here in a car that you bought. Can you tell me about this Chevy?
Yeah, so this is my 2015 Chevy Cruz that we're going to be soon renting out on Turo. I bought this guy for, I think it was around $3,500 or something like that. Had to do a little bit of repairs to make sure that it gets ready for Turo, but it's just about ready to go, and I'm excited to see what it does.
Awesome. How much do you expect to make on it?
Well, I'm kind of hoping that we'll be in the $400 to $600 a month take home for me personally. If you think that's realistic, Aaron.
I think that's realistic. So for all of the noobs out there that have never done an auction before, is there like a step-by-step process that you're going through as you're looking at these cars, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have a process of how I inspect vehicles. You know, it starts with just walking up to it and visually inspecting it, and then getting in it, turning it on and seeing how it runs and taking it for a little drive around the parking lot. Yeah, and then all along the way, I'm making notes of the year, the make, the model, the miles that are on it, and I'm looking online too to see if there's any title issues going on or if there's any reported things like airbag deployment, structural damage. You know, those are some of the big issues that I try and shy away from buying.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of things to look for when you're shopping for them.
So basically, step one is figure out what cars you're going to look at based on the list that they're sending out. Step two, inspect it. Step three, buy it.
Yep, exactly.
All right, three-step process. That's pretty easy.
So I've got my little list pulled up here, and I'm just taking a look through some of the cars, and I'm seeing, like, for example, this first one here is a 2016 Dodge Journey with 81,000 miles. MMR is the price that they list, and what that stands for is Manheim Market Report, which is just a national average of what cars sell for. Now, if it's a rough example of that car, it's generally going to sell for less than MMR, and if it's a nice example, it's going to generally sell for more than MMR. So that's just kind of your national average number to go off of. Like the first one I'm seeing that I think kind of fits the bill for me is a 2015 Hyundai Elantra. It's got 136,000 miles on it, so it wouldn't quite qualify for Turo, but the MMR on it's only $3,800. So for the dealership that I'm shopping for tax season, that's right in their price bracket.
And then is there a base price that the bidding starts at when you're looking at these cars? Do you have an idea of what?
Yeah, so I don't know that number. Basically, whoever the seller is of that vehicle is generally going to put a reserve on whatever cars that they're selling here. And so the auctioneer is going to want to start off the auction relatively close to that reserve number, so it'll give you an idea of what that seller is looking to get out of it.
So it sounds like we're just at eBay, but in person.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It's a bit more exciting than eBay, or if
Sure.
you're thinking of
Yeah.
like cars and bids. I know it's a lot of fun to watch the auctions at the end, right?
Yep.
This, it's like live, in your face, and it's fast. I mean, cars go through here. We've got 6 lanes of cars, and they are going to sell over 1,000 cars, and they'll probably do it all in about 4 hours.
Oh my goodness.
So cars move fast, and you have to act fast.
Yeah, I get anxious on eBay just looking at the time clicking down, but when you get that many cars going through at once, it's probably pretty hectic. So I'm excited to see that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So can you explain what I'm looking at other than just the parking lot?
Yeah, so where we're at right now is called On Point, and they tend to put like collector vehicles or interesting vehicles up here, hence why we have a hearse, a Maserati, and a drag racing car parked up here. But then you've got different lanes. So in the building behind us, we've got lanes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then they organize this lot based on those lanes. So this is that Hyundai Elantra that I mentioned, and just walking up to it, doing a little bit of a visual inspection. Some things I noticed right off the bat is the fact that it's got a little bit of a crack here in the front bumper. It looks like it's got some poor paint repair up there above the windshield. Again, it's a 2015 with 136,000 miles on it. And my first thing that I want to do is always, especially with these Elantras, get in and start them up. Now, immediately, I am going to fail this car. When I'm saying fail means I'm going to scratch it off of my list, because when I rev this car up a little bit, I don't know if it comes across on camera, but there's like a metallic knocking noise.
Yeah, that's not what you want to hear when you're looking to buy a car. So,
nope. And that's why you'd want to start them up and check them out and make sure that it's a good vehicle before you buy it. Because, I mean, it seems like a decent one, right? 2015, 136,000 miles. Seems like it's got plenty of life left in it. And sure, it will as soon as you replace that motor.
Well, there you go. All right, so I guess we're on to the next one, because this one was a fail.
So literally right next to that Hyundai is this guy. This is a 2007 Honda Accord with about 160,000 miles on it. Now this is the two-door version. And again, this probably wouldn't be a good Turo car, especially considering it's got all this damage and the fact that it's kind of old and a little bit high miles. But for a cheap vehicle, this might fit the bill.
Fingers crossed that this one doesn't have a weird engine sound or anything.
I have a little more faith in these Hondas, I will say.
Yeah, Hondas are typically going to be great cars, very reliable. So hopefully something like this is going to be a car that Brendan wants to pick up and keep for himself.
Now this one is dead, so I've got my little jump pack here. We'll pop the hood, give it a little jump start just to see how it runs. I mean, a battery isn't the end of the world, right? If I get a really good deal on a car and all I have to do is go out and buy a $100 or $200 battery.
Do you come across that a lot?
Absolutely. You won't believe, especially in the winter when batteries get affected the most, how many people just trade in their cars because they have a bad battery. It's silly. Well, let's start it up. I got some juice now.
So this one is promising. The engine sounds all right, and hopefully it was just that battery issue like Brendan was talking about, but we're gonna take it on a spin and see if anything else comes up.
Now the other thing I'm noticing right away is there's like a whine coming from the engine. Now that could be just like an alternator, it could mean a belt, it honestly could mean a number of things, but it's not a super concerning noise like an engine knock would be. It's probably something that's outside of the engine that's causing that whining noise. And now on the inside, I'm noticing a few things like this steering wheel, whoever had it before was like a worrywart and wore down the center of it. And then the center here, you notice there's no radio at all. And then it looks like some aftermarket HVAC controls that, oh, they do work. But yeah, it's just kind of an interesting setup. So whoever buys this would probably want to invest in a radio, but these days that's super cheap. Sun visor clip is broken. It looks like the handle on the glove box is also broken. So yeah, I mean, cosmetically, it's a little bit on the rough side.
So how does a car even end up with a missing radio and the handle ripped off and all of that stuff? What happened in this car, do you think?
Well, the missing radio, I can tell you, it's probably whoever traded this in, because yeah, this came from another dealership, so this was likely traded in on another vehicle, and that dealership decided for whatever reason that this doesn't fit what they're looking for on their lot. But I'm guessing that the person that traded it in said, well, I really like that radio, I want to put it in my next car, so they just yanked it out and kept it and then gave the dealership a car with no radio in it. Generally, I take a shower after coming to the auction because some of the cars here are just so gross. But here I've got a tiny little test track that's maybe like 1/8 of a mile long that'll let me get it up through a lot of the gears to make sure that it shifts properly. So I'm going to kind of mash the gas pedal so I can try and get it through as many gears as possible, and let's see how it does. Yeah. And now I'll let off at the end so that it upshifts. And yeah, it just went through the first 3 gears. Now I don't have enough length to get it through all 4 gears, so that is, you know, a slight risk, but considering how smoothly it shifted through the first 3 gears, I do have a lot of confidence in this transmission. Plus, these Accords with the 4-cylinder, the transmissions are actually generally pretty darn reliable. Now, I generally run it through that test track about 2 or 3 times before, just in case there's anything that's going to crop up, anybody that cleared any codes or any overheating issues. I want it to happen during the test drive, not after the purchase. And then last but not least, once I've determined that the bones of this car seem to be pretty solid, I'm going to test a lot of the little things, like we've got a power window here. I'm making sure that it goes up and down smoothly on both sides. This one comes with a sunroof. I want to make sure that it opens all the way up and that it's able to close without getting stuck or hung up on anything. And then I'm going to test to make sure that the AC works. So we've had it going on high the whole time, and now let's switch it to low, turn that AC on, and make sure that it blows out cold. Again, none of this is a determining factor of whether or not I will buy it. It's just a determining factor of, okay, if the AC doesn't work, I have to factor that repair cost into the purchase of the vehicle, right? So it's just going to make it worth a little bit less to me.
So Brendan, is this a car that you're going to try to pick up tomorrow at the auction block?
Yeah, if it goes cheap enough. Again, I'm going to account for the fact that the AC is not working on it. It's got a whine coming from the engine. It's got a lot of really weird, interesting body damage. It's got hail damage going on. It needs a radio. It needs a little bit of love before I would be comfortable selling this to the general public.
The last 2 cars that we looked at seem to be more on the budget side.
Yeah.
Are there going to be cars that are like on the high end here, or is it mostly just the junky old cars that get traded in?
Oh yeah, there's going to be some nice cars here. You'll see. We'll find something nice and I'll show you.
Let's do it. So as we're kind of looking around here, I'm seeing a lot of different cars that might actually fit the Turo bill really well. But what I have a lot of clients looking at right now are cars that are 3 rows, and typically we're looking at cars over 6,000 pounds so they can make tax deductions. Do you think there's many cars here that might fit that description?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to narrow down your search a little bit, but there's always something that'll fit that bill here. I mean, generally, I'm guessing you're thinking of like a Chevy Suburban or a Cadillac Escalade or a GMC Yukon, maybe even like, what's the Infiniti QX, whatever,
Yeah,
their
like
big SUV.
80,
Yeah, all those would kind of fit that bill, I think. And so I just pulled up a Chevy Suburban. I think it's a 2019. We're walking over now to see if it's available.
Sweet.
So yeah, it's right here, that Chevy Suburban. It's a 2019. It's got about 84,000 miles on it, so it should be a relatively decent vehicle, but let's check it out. So now, when it comes to a newer vehicle like this, I'm going to be a bit more particular. You can see it's got a pretty deep scratch right there. Looking down the side of it, the tires seem pretty decent. I mean, it all looks pretty good. Let's start it up and see how it runs. Yeah, it fires right up. Seems to run good. There's no lights on the dash. It does have a little crack in the mirror glass there, but again, the grand scheme of things, you're getting something at wholesale price. If all you have to do is put in some mirror glass, cheap fix.
What do you think something like this would sell for at a dealership?
Something like this at a dealership with like only 80-something thousand miles on it, you're probably looking in the mid $30,000 range is something
Okay.
that I would guess. Now, here at the auction, MMR on this guy is about 25 grand.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
Oh, wow. So almost like 8 to 10 grand off the price. That's insane.
Yeah, exactly, yes. Now, it could go a little bit above that MMR if it's really nice. Again,
Yeah.
MMR is for average condition, right? This one, let's say we drive it and there's no mechanical faults with it. Literally all it needs is that mirror glass. It's probably going to go above that MMR price because someone's going to be a little aggressive knowing that they can buy a vehicle and literally just pop in one piece of mirror glass and put it right on the front line of their dealership. So they're going to be willing to pay a premium for it. So for something like that, that's a little less of a headache. you're going to pay a little more than you'd expect, but it'd still be a lot cheaper than what a dealer would pay.
I like that.
Or what you'd pay at a dealer.
Yeah, and a car like this on Turo would probably, I've seen cars like this make around $20,000 to $25,000 in a year. So if you're telling me you can buy this car for around $25,000 and we can make around that on Turo, you're getting your money back in a year.
Yeah.
Right? That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if this thing is a good Turo car. We're going to take it for a spin right now.
Now, something like this, I'm going to be pretty particular, so I'm going to test everything, even down to the seat controls, making sure that the lumbar works. Right here, I want to make sure that it blows through both the front vents and the bottom vents, and that it works on defrost, that the AC works, that the radio works, which you can hear that it works right there. I've got it shifted into drive. And the first thing that I normally want to do, since this is a four-wheel drive, is switch it over to 4x4 and make sure that it goes smoothly into the four-wheel drive system, which it just did. And then I want to make sure, what I'll do here is I'll just crank the wheel a little bit, make sure, yep, I feel a little bit of tension coming from those front wheels. So I know the four-wheel drive is working, and I'm going to switch it back out for our drive because I don't want to do any damage to the four-wheel drive system while I'm driving it around here on the lot. And I've got that little test track that we already used right over there. Oh, and while we're at it, let me turn these butt warmers on. I don't really need them today, but I want to make sure that it works. So we've got it lined up here on the test track. I'm going to give it a nice boost of acceleration and then let off so it goes through all those gears. Yeah, it seems to shift very smooth. It drives great. I'm not hearing any clunks coming from the suspension. The brakes seem to grab well, and I'm not hearing any squeaking or noise coming from them. I mean, this thing is really tight. I don't hear any like rattles or anything going on. I think this is going to be a really nice buy for somebody.
And so I'm curious, why would something like this even end up at an auction lot? This seems like a great car.
So this one is actually an rental vehicle. Now, I can't disclose the exact company, but it's a major rental company that every one of you would recognize. And generally speaking, I mean, this has got 84,000 miles. Some of those major rental companies just have a number that's like, when a car hits this number, we sell it.
So that seems like it was a great vehicle. Honestly, something that I would recommend to somebody to purchase and put on Turo.
Absolutely.
Can we look around and see if there's any other good Turo fits here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we have a Ford Transit van. We've actually been looking at adding something like this to Turo because you can kind of convert it into like a camper setup and make a ton of money on it. And the cool thing about this is it has windows on the sides. Some of the transit vans won't have windows. Now, one thing I don't think this car has that we would probably want to look for more is actually having seats. But this is kind of the idea that we're looking for, is like a transit van with windows, because people want to come out to Colorado and go out to the mountains with a group of people with something like this. So if we could find something like this with seats in it, with windows all around it, I think that would be a really good fit.
Well, and you've got a couple options here too. So this is a 2021 with 19,000 miles.
Yep.
And then you've got a 2022 right next to it with 23,000 miles. And these are both pretty much brand new that you're going to get a heck of a discount off of versus the MSRP.
I like that, yeah. And so we just got to find some seats, and I think we would have a good car for Turo. So we saw quite the range of cars today. Everything from, you know, that junky Hyundai that you're looking at.
Yep, that I wouldn't buy.
Yeah.
All the way to something that's nearly new. I mean, a 2022 Ford Bronco with only 27,000 miles on it. I mean, anything you can imagine is here. I even saw a Honda S2000 out there. So nice. Collector cars, everything shows up here.
Nice. So what are we buying tomorrow?
Well, I guess we'll find out.
All right. So it's now the next day, and it's very hectic here. I don't know what's going on. Can you please explain what's happening right now?
Yeah, so there's 6 lanes of cars, and they've actually only opened up, I think, 4 lanes of it to start. Another half hour, the other 2 lanes will open up. But yeah, we've just got cars running through. I think they've already run over 100 cars so far. Wow. And the auction officially
like 10 minutes
kicked
in?
up
13
about
minutes
13 minutes ago.
That's crazy.
They move fast.
And so what like lingo are we looking for? It sounds like a lot of gibberish to me from the auctioneers.
So at the very beginning, when they first start the auction, what you want to listen for is what's called announcements. So they'll announce structural damage, or whether it's got the car is smoking or it's got transmission problems or anything like that is going to be announced right at the beginning and said very quickly. So you got to be paying attention as soon as that car hits the auction block, because that'll help determine whether or not it's something you want to buy or not.
So they're speaking in their gibberish. In between words of gibberish, they're saying things that actually matter, and you just have to be listening for that.
Well, and the nice thing is most of it is usually up on the screen too. So if they say it, it'll scroll across the screen like structural damage or whatever is going on.
Okay, got it. While the auctioneer's speaking, they'll repeat what's on the screen.
Yep.
Anything important.
You got to be careful, because anything from like a little this or to a nod means I'm interested and I'm bidding on the car.
All right, so I'll be careful not to move while I'm in there so I don't end up buying a car.
Most cars here have some sort of reserve. And so if it doesn't meet the reserve or doesn't even come close to the reserve, then they'll say that it's on call. Well, if it doesn't even come close, sometimes they'll just straight up no sale it and say no deal. Because you also have not only probably a couple hundred dealers here, but you have a couple hundred dealers online that are bidding as well. And so sometimes on the screen you'll just see the price going up, and that's because you got online bidders. You know, I just want to be able to put my eyes on it. I want to smell the car, hear the car, not taste the car, but all the other senses, to just kind of get an idea of what I'm buying before I buy it. Geez, I've been doing this for coming up on 3 years now, buying here at the auction, and I've been coming here pretty much every week ever since then. And I would say each week I usually buy at least one car. The most I've ever bought in 1 week is 20. So you can do the math. Maybe the average is 7 or 8, somewhere around there, every week for 3 years.
That's insane. That's like, you're probably, what, around 1,000 cars?
Might be, yeah.
All right, and I'm just kind of walking through the auction lanes right now. But as you can see, there's just multiple lanes of cars where they get driven in. And then in there, once they drive in, that's where they actually get bid on. So as you can see, this Land Rover is about to go through, and then the auctioneer is going to auction it off, and I guess highest bidder wins. Easy as that.
So yeah, there's a 2011 Kia Soul that's about to roll across the auction block. Now my number on it is $2,400. We'll see if I can get it for that.
What was your top number on that? What did it sell for?
My top bid was $2,400 and it sold for $2,700 on that guy. So I was close, but just a little too rich for me.
So he missed that one, but we're looking for a red Honda as the next car he's going to start bidding on.
Another swing and a miss.
Where you at? 45. That's it. $5 grand. 550. 50. 50. 50. 57 and a half. 57. 50. All in. 6 grand here. 250. 60. 250. 60. 250. Not 5. That's 65. 750. 16. 7. Already down to 750. So 6,500. Put it on 502.
I want to try and get that for $4,500.
That's right. Sold it 50. 604. This will get out some hail on it there, mister.
Just a little
Yeah,
bit.
take a hit. Quit through your trunk. Put out here, now the numbers up here, 118. 118. I get 500, 600. 600, you're in. 700, you're out. Now 8, now 9, now 10, now 11, mister. 11 here, 12, 11 here, 13, 13, 13, 13. We're going to go 14, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Mister, 19, 19. If you're out, yellow button, 19, 2, 21, 2, 22. 22 under here, 2, 3, 3 under here, 3, 4. 2,400 under there, get on the button, I'm going to go 5, get on the 25. 25, 2,600, 600, Mike, sit lead, you're out here, 2,600, get on the button, 2,600, so 25, put them on fire. 289.
That's probably one of the worst hail damaged cars I've ever seen in my whole life. The whole thing looks like a golf ball. But it's a 2011 Subaru Outback with like 159,000 miles on it. It actually runs and drives pretty good. It's just ugly. I bought it for $2,500.
Well, there you go. And that's your second purchase of the day.
Yeah, it's my second purchase of the day, so hopefully I can get a few more. But yeah, it just kind of shows you there are good deals here if you're patient.
Oh yeah, and so what's the plan with that car? Is that car gonna get fixed up or just sold as is?
It's probably gonna, we'll fix anything mechanically that's going on with it before we go and sell it, but cosmetically that car is done so. Every panel on it looks like it's been hit with little golf balls.
Oh,
so
no.
There's really no fixing it at that point. Whoever's gonna buy it is gonna buy it because they're gonna get a half-price Subaru Outback and just live with the hail damage.
And is that a car with a clean title, you think?
Yeah, it's a clean title, believe it or not. So I think whoever had it didn't ever do an insurance claim on it, but just got caught out in a really nasty hailstorm. But it's still underneath a decent little car. It's just ugly. We just saw a 2018 GLS 450. It only had, I think, about 78,000 miles on it, and yeah, it just sold for like 21 grand. So
that's crazy. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of cars come through here that would be great for Turo, and they're selling for way lower than I've ever seen somebody buy one of these Turo cars at.
Yeah, there's a lot of good deals to be had here. You have to be patient, and you have to have like multiple cars here. Like I came here with 20 cars, and I'm not going to get all of them. So if you come in and say I want just that one car,
it might not happen.
It might not happen. But if you came in and say I'll take one of these 10, you're probably going to get a car.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good plan. Maybe we just rack up some Turo cars that we want to buy, and then we start buying them up.
There we go.
Yeah.
5 grand under it, under 5, 4, under 3 grand, got it here 2, 22.50. I got Allen 5, 7.5, 3, 32.50, 35, 7.5, 4 grand, 42.50, 45, 47.5, get it out 5, 5 grand, 52.50, Allen, 52.50, sir, 52.50,
Yeah, I'll take it.
55, 55, you're out right here. 50, 500 in a bid, 5, sold 52.50, put on 289.
Just bought a 2010 Subaru Impreza, pretty basic vehicle. It's I think only got 86,000 miles on it, and I bought it for $52.50. Once you factor in auction fees and all that stuff, it's going to be a little bit more than that, but still pretty good price, I think.
I like that. And then what would that sell for on the open market?
I think it's probably worth somewhere around the $7,000 to $8,000 range.
So I'd say we had a pretty successful day here. The auction's still going on, but I'm heading out because this is a lot of cars, too much for me to handle.
Yeah, I've already bought 3 cars today, so I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah, 3 cars today. How many did you expect to buy today?
I think I'll probably end up with 5 or 6, honestly.
5 or 6, so you're about halfway there.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, well, thank you so much for letting me see everything.
Not a problem, man.
This has been incredible and like pretty mind-opening to see kind of what goes on behind the scenes and what only dealers get access to. So
absolutely,
this has been awesome. Thanks so much for having me out.
Happy to help you out, Aaron.
Awesome.
All right, take care.